It's Sunday night. It's 8 o'clock. Welcome to All Lacrosse Live. I'm Gary Groob in Toronto. With me, as always, I have Shawn Slaght over in Moose Jaw. Shawn, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. Thanks, Gary.
Excellent. And I have Muffler Mike over in Connecticut. Mike, love your jersey, love your shirt, love your shirt.
Thank you.
Love it. St. Patty's, here we come.
Yep.
Green everything. Green coffee, green beer. Around this place, some green food. You know, that happens year-round, though. Whoops. Wife will kill me for that comment. I'm kidding, dear.
Greener pastures and pickums.
Oh.
Yes, first song.
Normally we broadcast, we have a new leader. But no, we have a new basement dweller. So I worked hard to get there. I did whatever I could to go against McCrane. Here we are. Anyways, before we get rolling,
care of it.
Don't worry. I plan on staying there quite a while. I'm nailing the door shut, by the way it looks. That's not a week or two, man. I'm looking at a month of bad picks. So, if anybody's following me, sorry. Hopefully your new residence would be nicer. Anyway, we got a big show. We're going to go through the trade deadline with you. We have 7 games, most of which I got wrong. In the NLL, we got ALL in their last week of the regular season as well. But just before we get rolling, reminder that all of our episodes are streamed live across Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, also Twitch. And remember, you can catch us on Spotify the next morning. Remember to hit the subscribe, follow, and like buttons. Always share. Please tell everybody about us. Please enjoy all of our affiliates across the Stream Punk Entertainment Network. If you missed a show, no worries. You can grab all the shows on YouTube, which includes Stream Punk Cinema, Stream Punk Combat, as well as All Lacrosse all the time. Please subscribe. Please tell everybody about us. Remember, you can find retro games, interviews, library of shows, fights, all kinds of things there, and more coming all the time. Remember, you can stay up to date with all sports by visiting streampunkentertainment.com with great articles from our huge staff of contributors. Also, a reminder that our show is brought to you by 60. 60 is Canada's newest and most exciting sports uniform and teamwear brand, delivering top quality uniforms and teamwear that reflects the spirit and identity of each team. Their commitment to innovation and excellence sets them apart, ensuring that every customer experiences the perfect blend of style and functionality. Unleash your greatness with 60. Add Laxtalk 10 to every single one of your orders and receive 10% discount on your order. How do you get to them? Well, first of all, you can go to the QR code in the center of the screen. Next, you can go over to Instagram at sweet_60. You can go and email them at info.sweet60@gmail.com or go directly to the website at www.sweet60.ca/60. Alrighty. Eduardo's with us. Oh. From a hospital in Jacksonville. Hope you're feeling better, Eduardo. Take care. I'm assuming it's not sunstroke. Anyways. Sorry.
Some prayers.
Yes. All the best for a speedy recovery.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Let's take a look at some of the things that went on this week. First of all, Nathan Grennan. He was signed on over with Colorado. It's going to fit him rather nicely there, I think. Also, Ryan Benesh, and we'll get to him again a little bit later in these updates, but he was signed to Oshawa. And if you watch the press conference, he was just happy to be playing anywhere. He thought his career was done when he got cut Monday from Buffalo. So it's been a busy week for him. Speaking of him, though, in this game, he had 6 points, which now brings him past the 1,385-point mark, 4th all-time in scoring in the NLL. And what did he say when he was asked about that and 2 decades of playing? And the only thing he'd look with a straight face and go, "I'm old." He's not going to lose a sense of humor, that's for sure. But he looked real good with the Firewolves, and he looks like he fits right in. And they're picking his brain. Veteran leadership, something I had mentioned before, is the one thing they probably lacked a little of that they filled in real nicely. All right, a few things to take a look at. Just the major parts of this trade deadline. There really wasn't a whole lot of oh my god, surprise moments. We talked about Russell Terrace, and I remember saying that Buffalo looked like a good spot for him, and there he is in Buffalo. Lucas Nielsen and a second-round pick in 2026 goes back to Philadelphia. Philadelphia loaded up on a lot of draft picks in this little to-do. Blaze Reardon is over in Rochester now for a second-round pick. Phil Caputo is over there in Ottawa for Travis Longboat and a third-round pick, which is Calgary's pick. Interestingly enough, Toronto made one move. They gave away a fourth-round pick or something like that. Third-round pick, sorry. And they received Josh Jackson from the Desert Dogs. That's a big pickup, actually. He made an immediate impact in Halifax this weekend. So that looks good, especially with all the injuries they've been taking on defense. So that's going to really help them out. The big one in my eyes is Casey Wilson goes to Halifax, or his rights do. Tyson Bell and a first-round pick and a second-round pick go on over to Vegas. I think they did well in this trade. What do you think, Mike?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Between getting Bell and basically getting Halifax's highest pick, whatever that turns out to be in the first round. Most likely it's going to be their own, the way they're playing right now. But
well, yeah. A couple of smaller trades is Tyler Hendricks goes over to Buffalo, and Calgary receives a sixth-round pick. That surprised me a little bit. He was worth more than that, I think. And Buffalo I'm sure, will find good use for him. Ironically, he is going to be playing in the spot that Mike Triolo was going to be playing in. And, I think Mike Triolo is even a couple inches taller than Hendricks. So, doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. But
no.
What do I know? Take a look at my pickups. Not much. This was the interesting one also. Marshall King, who hasn't played all year, his rights go over to Vancouver, and in return, Vegas receives a conditional 2027 fourth-round pick. So now he goes to play with his brother again. Anything, Shawn? Anything that surprised you in any of these trades?
Honestly, not overly. I mean, we kind of talked about it a little bit, but we never really saw that, major blockbuster, I guess, at this trade deadline. But I mean, for the most part, I think, it was kind of what we expected. Maybe that, like you mentioned, that Hendricks trade was a little bit of a surprise, but again, that was a fairly minor trade for the most part. So nothing too terribly that really jumps out to my mind.
Right. Mike, anything that surprises you in the trades here?
I don't think so. Even as it relates to teams not being active at the trade deadline. I think, if you were Saskatchewan or you were Colorado or you were Georgia, it didn't really have to do anything.
Right.
Take sort of a don't fix what isn't broken approach.
Yeah.
Well, it's true. You don't really want to upset the chemistry that you have in a dressing room. Really, the most news that was made came just after the trade deadline when Rochester announced that they have relieved Mike Hazen and Pat O'Toole of their coaching duties, and then announced the next day that Randy Mearns would be the interim head coach. Now, we had done a little bit of speculation ourselves, And my thoughts of Seneca Nation owning the team is that maybe down the pipe, because I think Mearnsey's going to stay with NCAA. There's more money to be made there. But he has a lot of affiliation with Rochester and with some of the players there. But I was thinking myself that Brandon Francis and Brett Bucktooth, who just finished winning the Founders Cup with Kanawagi, would be a pretty good fit in a team like the Nighthawks with an ownership like Seneca Nation. And with their tutelage and their lineage, both of them, as well as their coaching history, I think would be a pretty good fit. But I think they would need to start from training camp onward and build the team they want, as opposed to coming in and trying to mop up whatever is going on in Rochester, which is kind of frightening if you're watching the game tonight, because as we speak now, with about 2 minutes 45 seconds to go, it is 17-10 for Las Vegas over the Nighthawks, in which Ryland Hartley was pulled in the first half, the first quarter, I think. I really can't put my finger on it. A team that was so hot in the first couple of games of the season not only went lukewarm, but they went ice cold. And something has to happen, something had to happen that turned everything around and nothing works. Thoughts? Shawn, let's start with you.
Yeah, I will admit I didn't have this one on my bingo card. With seeing O'Toole and Hazen released, especially it's very unusual to be making a coaching change kind of middle of the season like this. You think you'd kind of ride it out until the end, then kind of start your search in the off season. I'm a little kind of confused by that as well. But I guess, like you said, we kind of speculated that maybe Seneca Nation kind of wanting to put their own stamp on things. But this to me, of anything of the trade deadline, this was more newsworthy than anything else that came out, I think.
That's my point exactly. Mike, What are your thoughts?
I mean, just going back through their schedule. I mean, they were 4-2 going into that first game with Vancouver. I hate to bring it up again, but it almost seems like that hit
heard around the world.
Yeah, it seems to. I mean, they were 4-2 going into that game, and now they're about to be 5-7.
They're 5-7 now.
It'll be
5-8.
5-8.
Yeah. So you're talking since that hit, including that game, they've gone 1-6.
Right.
Yeah.
That's frightening, eh? Just how it goes so cold, so fast is frightening. But, wow, that's all I can say. I really am at a loss on this one because, you've seen things happen. You've seen things come down or kind of peter their way in, but you don't just see it just, bang. And if it's from the hit, I think there's more to it. But, that just changed. One hit changes the season. Wow.
I mean, it seems extreme, but I mean, they were pretty well-oiled machine up until that happened.
Up to that point,
yeah.
I actually would like to dig a little deeper and look at Ryan Smith and Connor Fields and their point totals before, up to game 4, and then after, and see, because I have noticed a humongous drop-off in points with everybody, but especially those two, because the team worked on Connor Fields. If he was having a 6-goal game, that team was winning. No two ways about it. And everybody fell in line. But he's been getting 1-2 goals. I think he has 1 in this game tonight. Ryan Smith, I think, has won tonight as well. This game's now final. I find this to be now. Also, think about this one, guys. The goalie they faced wasn't Landon Kells. It was Alex Bouquet in net, who stymied the Nighthawks. Mind you, he made a couple of great saves. Don't get me wrong. He made a couple of just fantastic saves in this one. But, this is one where I would actually think that the Nighthawks would have a good shot at.
I'll throw in something a little more baffling. We said, what is it, 1-5 or 1-6 since that hit? The one win against Saskatchewan, league leading Saskatchewan.
In overtime, yeah.
Yep. So think about this one now. If Saskatchewan would have won that game, now what are we talking about? An absolute collapse. That's unheard of. It's absolutely unheard of to have that big of a fall from grace. Now, I will be in Rochester next Saturday because I'm covering the Bats game in the afternoon and then the Nighthawks game at night. So hopefully we can, ask a few questions, see if we can get a few answers, see that the temperature is around there and what happens. But interesting. And ironically, it's the back end of the home and home against Vegas. So get ready for a ding, ding, ding round 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
All righty. Let's jump on over to the ALL briefly. They had their last week of the regular season this weekend, and another interesting week. Not quite as earth-shattering as last week, which still has me scratching my head. But we started with Saturday over in Oshawa, and it was Toronto against Whitby. Now, Whitby has been having a little bit of a bump in the road, which we haven't seen since the beginning of the year. Well, the Toronto Monarchs, who've also had quite a bump recently over the last until last week, they were on a 4-game losing streak. They beat the Steelhawks 12-9 in Saturday afternoon action. Now, of course, the first thing I would look at is did the Steelhawks have a full lineup? And as I looked, I would tell you, yes, they did. Which makes me wonder one of two things. What happened to Whitby or who woke up Toronto? Because that's not the way it's been going. Sam Haynes in net for Toronto was the first star of the game. Cody Innes with 3 goals and 2 assists for the Monarchs was the second star. And a name we've been talking about all year, Owen Orpana, as was the third star for Whitby. Again, Whitby got off to a good start, but Toronto took over the remainder of the first and most of the second, and we're up 5-1 and pretty much was dictating pace through the game. It tightened up a bit, but, just as it looked like Whitby was getting on track, Toronto put together another 4-goal run in the third, and before you knew it, it was 10-4. And for all intents and purposes, this game was about done. Toronto was able to withstand a bit of Whitby pressure in the fourth and came away with the 12-9 victory. Later that day, Peterborough, the new resurgent Peterborough, played Oshawa, who is in the rebuild, and they squeaked on by them 12-10. So good on Oshawa for having a real good showing. Of course, the first star of the game, and is why they picked him up, John St. John with a goal and 6 assists for Peterborough. Caleb Barton in net for Peterborough, another pickup at the trade deadline. And Zach Terry, who is one of the real bright spots for Oshawa with 3 goals and 3 assists as the number 3 star. We had a pair of games this afternoon at the ILA over in Hagersville. And the first game was the Six Nations Snipers against the woeful Paris River Wolves. And I guess mercifully the season is now over for Paris. Six Nations beat them 21-13. And, Paris finishes off with a 3-11 record. So mercifully, I guess that is all over. But this is the Six Nations team that everybody should be a little concerned about because they have all the talent in the world and they are putting it together at the right time. Because, of course, when do you want to get hot, Mike?
At the end of the season.
Come playoffs, right?
Yep.
And sure enough, come the end of the season. And Thunderhill led the way with 3 goals, 3 assists. Stone Jacobs with 3 goals. Wes Whitlow had 4 goals and an assist, as well as Avery Steinbach Parker, 2 goals, 2 assists. Jerry Stotts had 2 goals and an assist as well as a number of guys with 1 goal. For Paris, Andy Campbell had 4 goals and 3 assists. Dawson Brown had 3 goals and 3 assists. Jack Parker had a pair of goals. So did Ty Argent. They have a number of really great pieces. If they can draft well and keep a few of their veterans around, I think they really have a good shot at turning it around. But this year just was not in the cards for them. So if we look at the first of all the standings, remember 2 teams are gone, and that would be Oshawa and Paris are eliminated now. Brampton and Whitby have byes. And if my math is right, Peterborough faces Toronto. Oswego will play Six Nations next week. Peterborough against Toronto. Oswego against Six Nations, yes. All right. Power rankings to end the season. We had a change up on top, and Brampton finished strong, and they are number 1 in the power rankings, up a spot. Whitby down 1 in second. Peterborough stayed placed in third. Six Nations up a spot in fourth. The Monarchs went up a spot in fifth. Oswego went down a couple in sixth. Oshawa in seventh, and Paris in eighth did not move. And that is the regular season of Arena Lacrosse. Now comes the fun. Now comes the one and dones. So anybody who gets hot can still win the cup of those 6 games. For those of you playing at home, Brampton had a full squad. See what happened? First thing I looked at. But this should be interesting. And, of course, next week, Saturday is the Monarchs and Timbermen over at the Toronto Rock Athletic Center. And Sunday is the Snipers against the Bears. And that will be at the Iroquois Lacrosse Arena at 2 p.m. as well. So if you are anywhere in the neighborhood, please give them a look. Alrighty. We had a good split of games on Friday and Saturday in the NLL. And, taking a look at Toronto and Halifax, wow. Did anybody expect this kind of a game out of Halifax? Shawn?
No. I thought they were kind of waving the white flag on the season. And man, they kept right in it. They were scrappy, kept in there.
Well, I actually thought they were looking to win that.
Yeah.
In the fourth, up 12-10. It took a strong comeback by Toronto. Excuse me. And again, Halifax starts out strong. Will McLeod and Mike Robinson score. And they held Toronto off the scoreboard for 11 minutes of the first quarter. Now, finally, Toronto scores in 3 minutes' time, 3 goals. Dan Craig gets one. Josh Jackson, welcome to the team, in transition off a long lead pass from Chris Bucci, scores. And then Josh Dalwick gets one of his 3 of the night off a CJ Kerr's pass. And it looked like Toronto was going to go to the second quarter up 3-2. But Clark Peterson, on a more of a gaff of Toronto defense, they just relaxed. And Terefenko hit Peterson with a 70-foot pass, and he wired a quick stick that beat Nick Rose with 0.1 second left in the quarter. 3-3 at the end of one. Mark Matthews opened up with just an absolute bazooka off a Sam English pass. He could score from anywhere, eh? And anyway, that was short side and didn't even look like he was going to shoot. But, a minute and a half in, and it's 4-3 Toronto. Owen Hiltz diving across the crease made it 5-3. Then Clark Peterson and Brendan Bombury on the power play, and we were tied 5-5. Latrell Harris at the near the end of the half converts a Josh Jubenville pass in transition, and it was 6-5 Toronto at the half. Very entertaining first half, let me tell you. Back and forth, up and down, and Halifax brought their A game against a young upstart, quick Toronto team. Jason Knox ties the game up in the third quarter, 4 minutes in, off a Clark Peterson pass, but Owen Hiltz brings that right back about a minute and a half later, 7-6 Toronto. Clark Peterson again ties the game, followed by a power play goal by Cody Jamieson, in which he just fired it to the ground and went through Nick Rose's legs. 8-7 for Halifax. Not to be outdone, Chris Boucher and Josh Dalwick score, and it's 9-8 Toronto. Mike Robinson, we hadn't heard a whole lot from him most of the year. In this game, we saw a lot of him, and he was having probably the best game he's had in weeks. And he ties the game up with 15 seconds left in the third, and it's 9-9 going into the fourth. See, barn burner. Owen Hiltz gets his third of the night and gives Toronto the lead 15 seconds into the fourth. Cody Jamieson converts a Clark Peterson pass, ties it up. Curtis Romanchuk, he had a terrific transition goal. He was sending it all alone, made no mistake, top corner, short side, and beat Rose, who was going far side. He faked him right out of his shorts. And it was 11-10 for Halifax. Mike Robinson again scores. It's 12-10. Here comes Toronto now. 6 minutes to go in the game. Sam English scores off a Josh Dalwick pass, and it's a 1-goal game. Challen Rogers fires a absolute laser screenshot that beats Warren Hill, and it's 12-12. With a minute 28 left, Rogers then scores from in close, and it's 13-12, and it looks like Toronto's going to pull this thing out. Well, with the goalie on the bench and the play drawn up, with 22 seconds remaining in the game, 21.8 actually, Clark Peterson finds Brendan Bombury at the side of the net, who makes no mistake, puts it in, and we are going to overtime. Now, both teams had chances in overtime. This thing went back and forth as though this was the first 6 minutes of the game. It was just running back and forth, up and down, back and forth again. Josh Dalwick scores on a bounce shot from the side of the net. Typical spot for him to score goals off a Challen Rogers pass with just about 6 minutes gone in the overtime to win this game for Toronto. Now, Nick Rose made 45 saves on the night. So we can all say, yeah, this went through, that went through. He had a good night. Warren Hill made 41 saves on the night. Point-wise, Clark Peterson with 10 points. Absolute stud. Absolute stud. What can I say about that? But you're looking at the Toronto lineup, and Josh Dalwick had 3. Owen Hiltz had 3. Challen Rogers had a pair. So, it's coming from all different angles. Sam English had a great game. Had a goal and 2 assists, but boy, did he ever do a lot on both ends of the floor. Elijah Gash only had 2 assists, but he was in position, making more defensive plays than I've seen him make into his second year in Toronto. So looking strong. Nick Rowlett had another strong night on the faceoff dot. Now, he's not facing a slouch man. He's facing Jake Withers, probably the best faceoff man in the league, right? He went 12 for 30. Not bad against Withers. Holding his own. Toronto went 1 for 2 on the power play. Here's the big thing. Halifax went 4 for 4 on the power play. A disciplined Halifax team and a not disciplined Toronto team was almost a determining factor in this game. You would think I would have said it the other way.
Yep.
Well, nope. They were a lot more disciplined on Friday night. And, kudos to Halifax for putting out a strong game. But this is another one of those character wins for Toronto. And it keeps them in 5th in the league right now. And that's major. With about 6 weeks to go, everything is important in this game. They were still missing 5, Brampton was. Wow. Still put out a good performance, though. Interesting. They better find all their players in 2 weeks when they start playing in playoffs. Otherwise, that could be a disaster for a really good year. All right, let's move on. I want to go to Buffalo and in the Bandit land against Colorado. And another one which I didn't have. I thought Colorado would have a little bit more to them. But lo and behold, Buffalo is now sitting in 7th in the league on a 3-game win streak, beating Colorado 13-10.
Yeah, Buffalo's looking a lot better these days, and the exact opposite, I think, for Colorado. They seem to be on a bit of a slide right now. And it didn't take long. I mean, right off the bat, Buffalo jumped out to a 4-0 lead. 2 goals from Dane Smith, Josh Byrne, Tehoka Natikoke, 4-0. Andrew Q got one back for Colorado, but then again, Byrne and Smith continued to connect, and it's now 6-1. Will Malcolm, Braden Saris. Braden Saris had a great game for Colorado, to be fair, but it was 6-3 after the first. And Natikoke and Smith. Smith was just a killer on the Mammoth against the Mammoth on Friday night. And now it's 8-3 for Buffalo. Now it did fight back a little bit. Jack Hanna, Dylan McIntosh, and Hanna again to finish off the second quarter. And it is 8-6 still for Buffalo. And really, Buffalo led right through this. Byrne again to open the fourth quarter, about 43 seconds in. Sirius answered back, as well as Will Malcolm, to make it a 1-goal game. But again, as soon as they got momentum, Buffalo kind of took it back again. Natikoke, Byrne, and Scanlon. It's 12-8 after the third quarter. Then the fourth, Buchanan makes it 13-8. About 30 seconds later, Jack Hanna replied right back, and then Andrew Q with about 1:11 left to make the final 13-10. And as I mentioned, Dane Smith, 4 goals, 5 assists for 9 points. Byrne, the exact same thing, 4 goals, 5 assists for 9 points. He had a hat trick out of Natikoke. He had a goal and 3 assists from Kyle Buchanan for the Mammoth. 2 goals, 2 assists from Will Malcolm. He had 2 goals and 4 assists from Saris, so he looked really, really good. 3 goals and 2 assists from Jack Hanna. 2 goals, 2 assists from Andrew Q. And and actually Dylan Ward again got the hook for Nathan Whittam. Yeah, I would
on a first round. Any one and done, I put anybody against Matt Vince.
Yeah.
Not a good result usually. and especially if they're starting to feel it. And they just got
And they
that much
seem to.
stronger. And we knew Chugger would find ways to bolster, and that's what he did. Rest of Turret's in there, Henrik in there also, all big pieces.
Yeah, Restateris had a pair of assists in that game, so I mean he was making an impact. There's no doubt about it.
And for the other thing that we were talking about before, with him there, would he take away touches from Dane? 4 goals, 5 assists? Nope.
No, I think he probably opened it up more for Dane and Josh Byrne.
Right. I find it very, very interesting that he can find this readily. And the other thing is also that Mitch Desnew, now that he's back, is making such an impact on the back end, not just in the transition thing, but on the back end between loose balls, cause turnovers, and all the things that you don't really notice that much of. But his numbers are skyrocketing.
Yeah.
He had 11 loose balls in this game. He's just there to do all the digging. And when he was out for those 6 weeks, they really did feel it on the back end. And now, it seems to happen all the time, right? They get healthy at the right time. In the last couple of weeks, they get healthy. And, I think back 2 years ago, and they got all their players back with 3 weeks to go. They had 2 weeks to get all the rust off, and then they just steamrolled through the playoffs. Here we go again. And this time around, they've had a chance to use guys like Thomas Whitty, to use guys like Cam Wires, who they don't usually, get that much use out of. Same thing with Clay Scanlon. And they're getting more and more. So if they need them in the playoffs, Mike Buchanan comes to mind as well. And, they're there and they're ready and they're engaged and they feel a part of the team because they've been part of the team, not just coming in because somebody fell down. That's what starts scaring me. And at 7th right now, who are they facing at 2nd place now?
Vancouver.
Right now. That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Against Del Bianco. Well, I thought the Dobson Del Bianco thing would have been a good showdown. I'd be wrong. But I have a good theory on that one. Is that Georgia have been relying on Dobson so much that when he doesn't have the stellar highlight reel game, this is what happens. Because the offense really isn't doing all that much.
No.
And even in the wins, they weren't doing all that much. But let's go join that one in a few. Let's get on over to Oshawa. And Philadelphia came in, the depleted Philadelphia Wings came into the Tribute Community Center to face the Oshawa Firewolves. And ironically, before the game, they paid tribute to the 1974-75 Wings, who were a lot of Peterborough guys. And they had the opening face-off, which meant I got to see a lot of guys I knew from Peterborough. John Grant Sr., Joe Hiltz, a number of them who were over there. And it was a fun night. However, if you were a Philadelphia Wings fan, maybe not so much a fun night because it took a while before you had anything to cheer about. Roughly the 3rd quarter, if I saw that correctly.
Yeah, almost. They get shut out in the 1st quarter, 4-0. Nick Damoud gets pulled pretty early in this game after just under 8 minutes, giving up 4 goals. Deacon Knott goes the rest of the way. They don't get on the board until partway through the 2nd quarter, and find themselves down 7-1 at the half, and eventually lose 11-6. For the Wings, Dalton Young continues to be a bright spot since he's gotten into the lineup regularly. Had 2 goals in this game. New acquisition, Lucas Nielsen, also had a pair of goals. But he only got a goal and 2 assists out of Brennan O'Neill. A goal out of Kyle Jackson. 2 assists each for Eric Fennell, Sam LeClaire. Deacon Knott did make 37 saves in relief of Damoud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he played rather well because he got peppered. He played really well, and he made some really incredible saves.
Yeah, and once again, Philly outshot horribly. 54-45. And
right.
I don't even know what the number is for the season average for Philly, but it's got to be less than 50 shots a game.
Right.
Which is not going to get the job done. So
now, talking to Coach after the game, the difference between the last time the Firewolves played in Oshawa and this time was 2 different guys. It was almost like it was Glenn Clark's twin brother that came into this one. You know, I don't even think his feet hit the ground. He was that elated with the performance that they give, especially even the last couple of games, even talking about the Ottawa game. Take out those last 3.5 minutes, and they really put together a solid game there as well, playing the way they really know that they can play. And the difference that Ryan Benesh makes with that veteran leadership in there, and it's funny because he deflects it off himself, going at he just loves the youthful exuberance that keeps him young in there. So it's a play with each other on each other to keep everything moving. Also, Doug Jamieson looked more like himself in the last couple of games, where he was carrying the load for a good little while, and then when he hit a bit of a rut, the team kind of sputtered. This team actually looks pretty good, and for them not to make a lot of moves made sense, and the few moves that they did make also made sense, so that they're not going to upset too much of the chemistry for future years, because they're not going to be sitting in second last place or last place year after year. There's too much talent in this squad. I also give kudos to the Oshawa faithful, who gave a pretty good crowd, almost 5,000 for a snowstorm in Oshawa. I know this because it took me an hour and a half to drive that 30-minute drive. However, the weather report scared enough people that driving home was easy. There was nobody on the road. Small blessings. It's also interesting as I saw who's who in the arena, as you always do over there. I saw Jim Veltman in there. I saw Doug Louie in there. I saw Bill Fox in there. It's easy that you would miss a whole game just talking to people and mingling and co-mingling and talking lacrosse with a lot of Lacrosse Canada people and things like that. So very interesting evening overall on all aspects. And then, of course, seeing the Wings coaching staff on the way out as well. I had a little chat with Paul Day, Tracy Kolusky, as well as McCready. And, good to see these guys again. And, they will right the ship. Paul Day picked up a lot of draft picks in this exodus out of Philadelphia. And, there's a lot of good things to be picked up in this next draft. And you were starting to see some of the pieces, the Dalton Youngs, the Deacon Knotts, starting to find their way into the lineup as full-timers. So knowing that they are there and being able to see what you need and having a Bukun amount of picks, including at this stage the first round pick, first overall. Joey Spalina and Brennan O'Neill with Mike Sowers. Looking pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Throw Dalton Young in there. Got a pretty good squad for offensive team, right? And Young. And we'll do all the movement and digging and all the other things to dig in. So, it may take a year or two, guys, but they're in the right direction. This had to happen to blow it up and build it again, because putting Band-Aids and tape wasn't working, and trying to reinvent one part of it while the other thing falls apart, and then trying to fix it while the other thing falls apart just isn't working. That's the gerbil little wheel. So to do it like this and do it with a good draft coming up, 2 good drafts coming up, and having picks in both of them, I think right away is going to strengthen that team immensely. And hold on to your horses once all that gets going. All righty, let's keep moving along. And we hit to, well, we alluded to this game a little bit already. Vancouver and Georgia, in which I thought would be a real good pitchers duel. You got 2 hot goalies going at one another. And, well.
Gary, you look like you made the wrong pick on that game. Could it be?
Could have been.
What
are the odds?
I could be the first one to go from first to last in who you got before the season's over. Don't forget, week 2 or 3 or whatever, I was in first place. I even with binoculars, I can't find first place now. But yeah, in a game that, well, it looked good off the start. You know, Mike Triolo scored first for Georgia. And, you know, they seem to have the pace. They seem to have the rhyme. They seem to have the reason. But that's where it stopped. And Vancouver all of a sudden woke up and just took over this game. And it started with Jesse King scoring from in close off a Curtis Dixon pass. You're going to hear a lot of that. Curtis Dixon. Followed by Marcus Claridge. You're going to hear that a lot. Diving from behind the net on a delayed penalty off a Curtis Dixon feed. Dixon then added one himself because he was getting jealous that the other guys were getting all the glory. And he had a beauty from in close off a Keegan Ball pass. Another name you're going to hear a lot of. Just to add insult to injury, Vancouver then scored a shorthanded goal in transition when Ryan Dilks went coast to coast, beating Brett Dobson with about a minute left in the first quarter. And it was 4-1 after 1. Warriors continued where they left off when the second quarter started. Keegan Ball converting an Adam Charlin Beatty's pass a minute into the second quarter, followed by Curtis Dixon scoring. This one was kind of from the top of the crease off a Keegan Ball pass. Again, we're not even 2 minutes into the second. Ryan Sheridan then scored, jumping across the crease off a Keegan Ball pass. Well, they had seen enough at that point, and Devlin Shanahan replaced Brett Dobson in net at this stage. The Swarm finally stopped that Vancouver run when Jordan McIntosh scored in transition off an Adam Wiedemann pass. So after a couple of minutes of breather, Brett Dobson came back in net. Well, Marcus Claridge welcomed him back into the game with a great individual effort. Lyle Thompson then got on the board for the Swarm on the power play with a bounce shot off a McIntosh feed. But Keegan Ball added yet another Warriors marker, scoring from in close off a Ryan Sheridan pass. At the half, it was Vancouver 9, Georgia 3. And, the upside was they got to go for 10 minutes and take a breather. They come out of the break, and you would expect that Georgia would have a little bit of jump. Vancouver came out on fire in the third. Keegan Ball opened the half with a pair of goals, just 24 seconds apart, both off Adam Charlin Beatty's passes. Reese Callies then added an unassisted marker from in close, making the score 12-3. In comes Devlin Shanahan, this time to stay. And I don't remember the last time Brett Dobson was pulled twice in a game. I can't even remember, except for the 5-minute penalty when he was pulled once in a game. But this was not his evening. Curtis Dixon welcomed Shanahan to the game with an outside shot that just was a little bouncer that really should no business going in, but it did. It was just indicative of the evening that Georgia was having. The Swarm got on the board with Nolan Byrne converting a Caleb Benedict pass at 9:24, followed by Ben Trumbull with a blast off a Jacob Hickey pass. And it was 13-5 after 3. Jesse King opened the fourth with a power play goal, just 24 seconds into the frame, just to put a little exclamation point in there. Michael Grace answered for Georgia off a Jordan McIntosh rebound, and then Lyle Thompson added a tally from in close off a Ben Trumbull pass at 12:21. But what stood out to me for the rest of that game was the Vancouver defense was stifling. And Kristen Del Bianco was completely on point. When they did the interviews at halftime, they made mention of last week's game against Toronto, and they were sick about how bad they came out and down 10-3, even though they made a game of it in the second half, that just can't happen. And, well, they made a point to make a point that this offense is rolling. For Vancouver, the big one is Keegan Ball, 4 goals and 5 assists on the night. Curtis Dixon, 3 goals, 4 assists on the night. Marcus Clarich with a pair of goals. Ryan Sheridan had a goal and 2 assists on the night as well. Adam Charlambides with 3 very, very good hard-working assists. The other one that stood out to me was Owen Grant. He had a hell of a game. He had 2 assists, but he was your pit bull all over the floor and just absolutely put together. Jackson Subag, even though he had a couple of penalties in the game, played a really strong game as well on defense. One of the guys locking everything down. Same thing with Steph Charbonneau, really locking it down. You take a look at the numbers. Max Adler on faceoffs just went to town. He was 19 at 25. Look at all the extra possessions. Georgia went 1 for 6 on the power play and gave up a shorthanded goal. That's not a recipe for winning. Vancouver, on the other hand, went 1 for 2. They just did it any way they had to. 54 shots on net for Georgia. Del Bianco made 45 saves on the night. He was hot.
Let's not forget who has a top penalty kill unit in the league.
That would be Vancouver. By a long shot.
Yeah.
And shorthanded marker to go with it. But you look at the way that Vancouver came out. They got scoring from all over the place. They got transition going. They even got transition going from the older players. I expected it with some of the younger guys. But when you start seeing Ryan Dilks doing it, yeah. Georgia, if you didn't have Jordan McIntosh in the lineup, I'd take 3 more goals off of him. A little bit too much relying on transition right now. Because when you look up and down the lineup there, really, they didn't help themselves any which way. Lyle Thompson had a pair, but he had 10 shots. Ben Trumbull, rookie, had a goal. Caleb Benedict had 1 assist in this game. Michael Grace had a goal. Shane Jackson had no goals, 3 assists. Mike Triolo had 1 goal at the beginning of the game and really wasn't heard from. Nolan Byrne, I like that kid. I really like the way he plays. I only had 1 goal in the game, though. Where are we getting it from here? Jacob Hickey. He's been the catalyst to a lot of things recently. 1 assist. Brian Cole, nothing. You can't win like that.
And just kind of going back there, Gary, you mentioned no goals from Shane Jackson. That's off 10 shots.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it wasn't from lack of trying. And, in his patented sit beside the net, trying for the quick sticks. I don't know how many bounced out of his stick or bounced away. And, it just, if it could go wrong, it went wrong. It just was one of those games for Georgia where nothing went right. And it all happened at the same night. Kind of reminds me of the Oshawa game about a month ago, where it just everything went wrong, and it showed. 14-7 is actually a very, very pleasant score from really what this should have been. This could have been a 20-4 game. honestly. But kudos to Vancouver for putting it together and putting it together strong. And there's just so much upside, right? I guess if we're looking like we were talking earlier, if it is Vancouver Buffalo in that first round, get your popcorn, get your favorite wobbly pop beside you because this is going to be an interesting game. And it can go any which way you want it. It could be a pitcher's duel, or it could be a 20-19 blowout. Just both teams can play any style. But I was really impressed with the way Vancouver bounced back after looking very not good the week earlier. And questions started creeping in about them again when they come up with a thing like that against the Rock. So this should shut up a lot of the critics.
I think so.
Oh, yeah.
That was an emphatic exclamation point, the way they played that game, and doing it without the power play. Because Georgia actually played discipline.
Yep.
That was the one thing they did right. All right, that brings us over to Calgary and Ottawa, who was one of the hotter teams in the league, went to face the Roughnecks, who really we thought were just kind of getting ready for next year. But youthful exuberance doesn't know when to lose.
Yeah, which might explain why
they won.
Yeah.
Why I picked them to win. What were you guys thinking?
Yeah, this is my one blemish on my record this week.
Hey, this was my one blemish too. Plus the other blemish, and the other blemish, and the next game, and 3 games before that. I got the Rock.
The Roughnecks definitely stifled Ottawa in the first half. Goal from Riley Lowen in the first quarter to start ends up being the only goal of the quarter. But quick pair in the second quarter early from Hayden Dixon and Matthew Gauthier. Haven't heard him much at all this year.
Yeah.
That was actually his first goal of the season. Gets him out to a 3-0 lead. Jeff Teat comes back with one, but then Dixon scores twice in a 4-goal run, along with Tanner Cook and Braden Maillet on a power play, and now it's 7-1. Calgary, a goal from Connor Kiernan with 47 seconds left, makes it 7-2 at the half. Ottawa tries to claw their way back in with a 3-goal run in the third quarter, but Calgary comes right back. Dixon with his fourth. Maillet tacks on 2 more. Now it's 10-5. Phil Caputo scores his second to make it 10-6 going into the fourth. But Calgary goes blow for blow with the best fourth quarter team in the league. Every time.
That's the one that stands out.
Yeah. Every time Ottawa scored, Calgary had an answer. and I mean, Tanner Cook, less than 30 seconds into the fourth, makes it 11-6. Kiernan makes it 11-7. But Tyler Pace comes right back about a minute and a half later, and it's 12-7. You get a power play goal from Riley O'Connor and a goal from Larson Sundown just after the 5-minute mark. It's 12-9. And then Tanner Cook gets an empty netter with a minute 44 left to make it 13-9. And, I mean, look, the Roughnecks have been solid the last few weeks. I mean, I know they dropped one a couple of weeks ago, but Aiden Walsh has looked a lot better, especially since, the games against Georgia.
Right.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I just think them not doing a lot at the trade deadline, I think speaks some volumes too. That, hey, these are the guys we have. These are the guys we're going to build with.
They're going to be a good team.
Yeah.
And with a couple extra pieces in the next draft, they're going to be a very good team.
They are, and
They're
And
just a
they
young team,
locked
just kind of waking their way through, right? Like,
well, they gave Eli Salama a 3-year contract. They locked down the people they want to lock down. They need to lock
yeah,
down, and they're taking care of all of that now.
I think so. And I mean, I want to point out again, when we did the buy sell thing, whatever, a month and a half ago,
Mhm.
Shawn, I believe, bought
yeah.
Cal, had them on their buy, and I mean, right now they're 4-9, which obviously that doesn't seem all that great, especially since I mean, I think the consensus among us seems to be that 9-9 is probably going to have to be their minimum to make the playoffs.
With the tiebreak, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just I right now. I mean, this and this opinion could change in a week or 2 weeks, but right now, I mean, do either of you guys think that an 8-10 team can make the playoffs? I'm
No,
Probably
right
not.
now.
No.
Right now,
I
I'm
don't
saying
think so.
And I was gonna say, when I had them as a buy, like I kind of figured, the likelihood of them making the playoffs wasn't going to be good. But I was also looking at the fact that at that time they were losing like 1-2 point games, and I knew that they were just kind of on the cusp of something. They just
Yeah.
needed to find that extra edge, and just as I said, they're a young team, just need a little bit more experience and just a little bit more time to gel together. And we're
Right.
slowly starting to see that as the season goes on. Maybe they're not a buy team now, but I mean, like you said, Gary, I mean, they're on the cusp of something right now.
Yeah, I think they're onto something really good, and I think
Yeah.
with the guys that they have, because you take a look at Troy Cordingley, Josh Sanderson, Phil Sanderson, they've all worked with the youth in Ontario. Troy spends a ton of time with Junior A. They know what's there, and they know what's going to work with the group that they have here. And so take a look at how they're going to nurture and build and put it together. And I really do like it from top to bottom what they have. My little pet peeve is I was just looking at the NLL website, and Aiden Walsh, he's been with them all year, correct?
Yep.
Couldn't somebody take a picture with a Calgary jersey on? You still got a Vancouver jersey on, for crying out loud. Little things like that bug me,
Yeah.
But, anyways,
He must have missed media day.
I must.
in this day and age, you couldn't Photoshop or AI a Calgary jersey on.
You probably could.
You could have put a bull ring on his nose.
Yeah.
But anyways,
No, I mean, I wanted to bring that up just because again, 4-9 doesn't look all that great, but like Shawn said, they had a couple of close losses, so it's one of those things where they could easily be 7-6 like Buffalo is right now, which would put them in the playoffs. Their remaining games, you have at Vegas, and then you have home and homes with Oshawa and a struggling Colorado team right now. So, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility that they could finish 8-10.
I think we're holding our breath a little bit too much on that one.
I think it's enough to make the playoffs.
Who here thinks that Colorado is going to tank the rest of the way? Right.
I don't think they're going to tank the rest of the way.
No.
I just mean that they're not going to be playing as bad as they play right now.
If you sweep, I mean, 2 against Oshawa, I think those are winnable. The game in Vegas, I think, is winnable. And I think at least one of the Colorado games is winnable. That puts them at 8-10.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the Oshawa team that I watched on Friday. Debatable. I think it's going to be a hell of a game. With the future on both sides. And Vegas, the Vegas team that I watched tonight. Oh.
Yeah.
I mean,
don't forget also Chase Fraser is close to coming back, eh? So put him back into the Vegas lineup with all the pieces that they've put in there. Crowley's looking comfortable now too. So, I don't know. Now you got Bouquet also that is readily available to give you quality minutes, not just mop-up minutes. Interesting.
Yeah, and it just, we should point out, this win for Vegas here over Rochester moves them up to 5-7, drops Rochester to 5-7, and Las Vegas effectively leapfrogs 5-8 Halifax and 5-7 Rochester now
Jeez,
into ninth place,
that place.
Right.
and they're just a game behind San Diego. And guess who they have a home and home doubleheader with in week 21? San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good segue, Mike, because we look at our next game, and we have a clinch. We have a clinch. Our first clinch of the year. Congratulations, Saskatchewan. Now they can rest everybody when they come to Toronto next week. Thank you.
Don't be so certain. They still want first place, don't? But with the Georgia,
because at this week I don't care if I finish last.
No, but with the Georgia loss earlier in the evening, the mission became easy for Saskatchewan. Win and you're in, and they picked up a 10-9 win over San Diego.
They didn't do it very easily, though. They did
not do it. No, they never do it easy. And to be fair, San Diego and Saskatchewan, they always play each other tough. It doesn't matter what the standings are; they always play each other tough. But
San Diego is a good team, and they're going under the radar.
Yeah,
all the way through this year, we really haven't paid much attention to them, and really haven't given them the clout that I really think they deserve. But boy, they are a good team, and taking Saskatchewan to the limit says something.
Oh yeah, and this could be a preview of that first round if the season ended today. We started off Ari Steinos, the transition goal, Trey Leclerc, Ben McIntosh against his former team. He always kills his former teams apparently, and San Diego jumps right out to a 3-0 lead. But again, you can't just keep this rush offense down. With just under within a span of just under 2 minutes. Robert Church, the power play goal, Austin Shanks, and then Josh Zawada with just over a minute left, and we are tied 3-3. Into the second quarter, Ben McIntosh, 27 seconds into the quarter, gives San Diego lead, but 18 seconds right after that, Robert Church answers, and it's tied 4-4. Connor Robinson and Ben McIntosh again, and it's 6-4 San Diego at the half. But then after that, the Rush outscored San Diego 6-3 in the second half. They just kind of put on the Jets from there. Zach Mans opened the scoring 14 seconds into the third. Mike Messenger, a bomb down the field right into the stick of Matt Accioni for a transition goal with just over 9.5 minutes left in the quarter. Ryan Barnable scored Robert Church on the power play with just over 3.5 left, and it's now 8-6 Saskatchewan. They leapfrogged them into the lead. Graydon Bradley with the transition goal with 2 minutes and 17 seconds left, and it is 8-7 Saskatchewan heading into the fourth. And again, Zach Mans scores to restore that 2-goal lead. Trey Leclerc on the power play makes it a 1-goal game, but with 20 seconds left, Matt Kostiuk with the empty netter. And then Ben McIntosh did score one with 5 seconds left in the game, but really at that point it was a little too late, as the end score was 10-9. And for the Rush, it's actually funny. They honored Robert Church partway through the first quarter, the all-time franchise leader, and I think he just had to remind everybody just how good he is with the hat trick and 2 assists. Zach Mans, pair of goals, 2 assists, 4 assists for Brock Haley. So he had a really good night, even though he didn't score. He was really making plays. 2 assists from Levi Anderson, a goal and assist from Josh Zawada. 9 goals against again for Frank Chiliano, so he had a decent night again. For San Diego, 4 goals from Ben McIntosh, 4 assists from Zach Courier. They had 2 goals, 2 assists from Trey Leclerc. And I mean, just as good of a night really for Chris O'Reilly. 9 goals against as well. Obviously, they had the empty netter for the 10th. But
yeah, and you mentioned they always play the rush tough. How easily could this be the other way around if they get even 1 goal out of Westberg?
Yeah, no, that's fair. And honestly, there's kind of maybe a controversy too because there was 1 goal that was called back that San Diego wanted to challenge, and to be frank, it looked like it was a good goal. But they threw their flag after the 30-second time period to challenge, so the refs did not allow the challenge to go forward.
Now, interestingly enough, I had Cam Holding on the show on Thursday. And the one thing, of course, being a former SEAL, but more importantly, he was a Whitby kid who came up through the ranks. And the one who pushed him into the, to the direction of going pro was Derek Keenan. In fact, Derek Keenan drafted him to Edmonton originally. And near the end, he didn't make the cut. And he worked hard and got in with Colorado and that. But it was Keenan with smaller training camps than most guys who are trying to get guys to fit positions, where Keenan still to this day looks for chemistry.
Yeah.
Trying to build chemistry from the start with smaller units and trying to find the chemistry that works here. And I give you what he's done with the Saskatchewan Rush over the last couple of years of rebuild to where it's been the last 2 years. And you look at this team now, and it's never a panic. Down of you, never panic.
No.
Things aren't going right at the moment, never panic. And away it goes. And it's just that mentality from the top on down. And it works. It works. When the head is brilliant, the body becomes that way. It's the other way around. When the head is stupid, the whole body's stupid. But, a Keenan run team, very seldom will you see it off kilter.
Yeah. I will counter it a little bit too with the fact that I think you're seeing a much more matured coach in Jimmy Quinlan because he's getting that tutelage from Derek Keenan. I think you're seeing him a lot more even keeled because I remember when he was the coordinator years ago in Saskatchewan, he used to get fired up on that bench and he showed his emotion on his sleeve. I'm thinking you're seeing him a lot more even keeled. Like, okay, let's just go through the motions. And that's the Derek Keenan thing, right? He never shows his cards. So I think there's so much influence that Derek has on this. And another point I wanted to make too is, we talked about wanting to lock up first place. The Rush are still, I believe it's 6 or 7 now, 0 at home. They have not lost at home yet.
Yes, 6-0, and I think they're remaining. 3 of their last 4 games are going to be at home. So they're at Toronto next week, and then they're home the rest of the season. Hosting Buffalo, hosting Colorado, and then hosting Toronto.
Not the easiest of paths.
No, not the easiest. Still not the hardest compared to Buffalo's.
Buffalo has to face Saskatchewan.
First, they have to go to San Diego. Then they have to go to Saskatchewan, and then they get back home, but they have Vancouver and Rochester. Before finishing.
Well, then again, Rochester hasn't looked all that great. So,
again,
they haven't. But remember who took
the
the first?
Murphy's going to turn that around. At some point, that's going to turn around. There's too much talent there for them to be as flat as they look tonight, or last week for that matter, which got Hazen, which was the final straw, because I guess they saw it on the wall after last week's game where they just looked completely uninterested. And, when you are losing 14-7 to Calgary, right, even though we have all this, up, it's going to be a great thing, it's not there yet. And Rochester, we thought was. And when you 14-7 to Calgary, that was the final straw over there. And then you come back tonight. Usually when you have a new coach, that's when everybody's playing at their prime, right? trying to make the impression.
Yeah.
Well, they were flatter than they were last week when we look at this game. And, 17-10. What more can you say? That game was just ugly. At every step of the way tonight, it was ugly. It started ugly. It continued ugly. It had a break, and then it picked up being more ugly. It was ugly. Now, for Vegas, I would be elated if I was Shawn Williams because I saw probably the best game I've seen all year from Kyle Killen. I've seen a few good ones from him, but I think this is the best game we've seen of him. Chris Kluche, I've said, has been the engine of that offense. And, well, your engine is humming. Jonathan Donville, you take a look at what he did tonight, and, again, you sit there and go, wow, this is getting a little bit scary. 3 goals, 5 assists for Donville. Mitch Jones, 3 goals and 6 assists for him. This is rolling. Jackson Webster barely get to see the floor now. And he still had a goal and an assist when he was there, and a beauty goal at that. But, Kluche had 3 goals and 4 assists on the night, as well as Kyle Killen with 4 tonight, right? So that offense is humming. The other one that I want to bring up is Adam Poitras with a goal and 3 assists, but he was a big part of the early goals that came on from Killen. He did a good chunk of that work. Tyson Bell, solid back on defense. Had a few shots on net, yes. Didn't take any dumb penalties. He's out of the Halifax zone. Now you have a role. Again, we talked about roles, guys. Reardon looked pretty good tonight, too. You know what he was doing? His old role with Philadelphia. I saw him diving across the crease and scoring. So he can do it. He was the bull in the china shop in the front, had a couple of goals tonight. Granted, it was already after the fact that this thing was over. But nonetheless, he looked better than I've seen him in weeks in a Philadelphia uniform. Roll. Zed Williams had a roll. And from that spot, he had 2 really, really good goals. One was a spin around with just a gorgeous goal. If you have a chance to take a look at it, watch it. And how he got the thing on net, let alone the score, is beyond me. But again, rolls. And if something that we're going to see over the next couple of weeks in Rochester, it may be not enough to save the season. It might be enough just to save the season. But Mearnsey will be able to get these guys back on the railroad tracks. They may not be going full locomotive, but they're completely derailed right now. And the biggest thing that has to happen there is they have to be on track. They have to have somewhere to go to. And, they are on the cusp of going the opposite way of where they need to be. And there's too much talent. And, you look at, you have Ryan Smith, you have Kyle Waters, you have, Connor Fields. And where are they? Where is everybody? Even Graydon Hogg, he's only getting 3 shots. McConvey had a goal tonight. A goal. That was your first overall pick a couple of years ago. Number 1 overall. That's the next big thing. Chad Tutton, invisible on the floor. What happened to all the transition that he used to be good for? I look at it and it's like there's something really missing. Josh Medeiros, I heard his name a couple of times tonight. I didn't see a whole lot, but something has to be going. There has to be a plan in place. Now it was a no-brainer that O'Toole was going because he's the brother-in-law of Hazen. So you're not going to have one without the other. So I'm curious how it's going to shake out and if they're even going to replace coaches, assistant coaches, and what they're going to do for the next couple of weeks. Or do they start completely fresh in the off season and then go from there. I think most of their players are signed, so I don't think I have to worry about that. But was it a mistake getting Jeremy Thompson there?
I don't know. They were 22 for 31 on the faceoff, so he was
okay. But everything else that comes with it, because he's not a Fogo. Don't know. I'm asking legitimately.
I bet Georgia wishes they had Jeremy Thompson right now.
Sure.
Yeah.
I wonder what is the oomph that's missing. I look at the injury list and there's not that many injuries. McCauley's out. There's not that many. I think they're missing Jake Pizzeno. He looked good in the beginning of the year. And him not being in a lineup is hurting. He was that little firecracker. But honestly, I'm at a loss why things aren't working. Why is Hartley having so much trouble all of a sudden? Because they're getting blown out early. And he's getting pulled early. And Hutchcraft's coming in and changing the equation. It's happened 4 or 5 times. It's not a one-off. We're already scratching our heads when we see that Dylan Ward's been pulled a couple of times. But Hartley, I think in the last 5 games, he's been pulled 4 of them.
Yeah. That's concerning.
That's what makes me wonder. Because if you're doing all this great stuff above and it goes back the other way and it's in it, that's demoralizing. And then that's why transition doesn't happen, because you're afraid to move forward. And it affects so many different things. Maybe not consciously, but subconsciously it affects a lot of things on what the team's going to do and how they're going to do it. So I'm curious to see next week when Mearnsey has an entire week to get their practice in, get this over with, and move forward in more his style of way things he wants to do. And it's with Vegas again next week at home. So let's see how that plays out. Looking at next week, we have Saskatchewan coming into Toronto Friday night. That's a bigger game for Toronto than it is for Saskatchewan. Even though Saskatchewan wants to stay in first place, Toronto wants to move up in the top 4. And it's attainable. But they're going to have to be almost perfect if they're going to pull it off. Do they have the ability? More and more I'm believing they do. They have the character to do it. But do they have 60 full minutes in them? I haven't seen that yet this year.
I was going to say, actually, I think I kind of like how Toronto matches up against Saskatchewan because, young legs against, this is still a young Saskatchewan team. So young legs against young legs like that, I think Toronto could run with them easily.
Right. And the goaltending, I could pretty much put it even because both goalies play the same style.
Yeah.
It's just transition, and there's a lot of firepower on both sides on offense. It's who has the hot sticks and who has the defensive schemes. And when you're looking at, what Bruce God can put together and what Derek Keenan can put together, I'd say it's 2 of the brightest minds in lacrosse. So I think this could be a very interesting game to sit back and watch. And luckily I'll have a front row seat for this. And then I'll have to be traveling off to Rochester for the next one and have a press box seat for that, which is going to be interesting too. But the next one is Halifax in Georgia. Now, 2 weeks ago, I would have said Halifax on the way out and Georgia's on the way up. And after what I saw this week, say Halifax on the way up and Georgia's on the way down. Is that a one-off? Or can Halifax put together the same kind of game plan that they did against Toronto and tie them up in knots and get into a run and gun affair, which they obviously can do? And Peterson in a leadership role there with Jameson, I think that's a pretty good recipe for success. What do you think, Mike?
I think Brett Dobson's going to want to shake off this week's performance.
I think Warren Hill's going to want to have a good performance too.
Yeah, I mean, right now thinking about it, I think I'm still siding with Georgia, but I can see where this can be a trap game for them.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Ottawa and Vancouver. In Vancouver. Does Ottawa take 2 hits back-to-back after having such a good little run? Vancouver's rolling.
Yeah, I mean, this one's interesting because Vancouver's honestly a better team on the road right now. They're 7-1, and that only loss was in Saskatchewan. So,
right.
That it could have easily been 8-0 since that game.
Yeah, that was an overtime loss too.
So, but they are home, but they obviously they do want to keep up that momentum, and Ottawa would like to bounce back from, I'm sure, a game they thought they should have won, but a game that yours truly thought was a trap game. Correctly.
Right, we talked about Vegas and Rochester. Calgary goes into Colorado. This one all of a sudden became interesting. The way Colorado's been playing and the way Calgary's been playing, again, it's bizarro land, and instead of it going this way, it's going this way.
Yep.
What kind of game do we see?
Which Calgary team shows up?
Which Colorado team shows up?
That too, yeah.
I haven't seen Colorado since they beat Toronto in Colorado. I haven't seen Colorado play good since that game. Maybe even put it down since that gash hit on Edwards. Just to put a little stir to that. But since that point, Colorado has not looked themselves.
Are you lending credence to my Hartley thing with the hit? And
Interesting, but they weren't the ones who facilitated it. They were the receivers. Or should I say Edwards just ran into a tree?
True, yeah.
If you look at the tape, I don't think Gash took a step. Edwards ran into a tree. But since that point,
yeah, I won't
they haven't
been
the same.
Yeah, I mean, they did beat San Diego the next week, but that was a comeback win. So, I mean, since then, they've kind of struggled. They had the terrible fourth quarter against Ottawa.
They had a stinker against Toronto.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, now the Buffalo game where they pretty much, from the opening bell.
Yep. Yeah, they went bill to bill terrible.
And it's funny because we were talking about that Saskatchewan Colorado game later in the season here for first place, but I don't know now. They're kind of falling out of that race.
Yeah, it seems a long way off.
Yeah.
It is a month off, but.
And then a game I really didn't think would matter is Buffalo and San Diego late Saturday night.
Oh, it matters now.
Yeah.
What now? It'll be what keeps me alive as I'm traveling back from Rochester. Middle of the night, having that game on. Hope the border guard likes lacrosse. But yeah, it's going to be a busy week. But again, a lot of these games are games that I don't know if I would have given much credence to even a couple of weeks ago. And now they have dire meanings to all the teams.
For everyone.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the guys who are in the bottom of the rungs really aren't playing this week. It's funny how that worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be a heck of a week. And if it's anything like the last couple, wow. And again, it's not the trade deadline because the only one who really made a lot of moves was Philadelphia, and we saw that on the wall for weeks. We've seen that.
Yeah.
The only one who didn't move from everybody we were saying was going to move was Damood. And I'm sure if the price was right, he would have been on backing too. So we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be a very, very interesting next couple of weeks as the season peters down into playoffs because nothing is for certain now. Yes, Saskatchewan's clinched, but first place isn't there yet.
No.
And there's enough teams in striking distance where every game becomes important for Saskatchewan as well. So it's going to be terrific for a fan because every game you're going to see all out all the time, which makes for some amazing games. And we've been witnessing a lot of them lately. All righty, just a reminder to everybody that we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are on Thread, we are on Instagram, we are on YouTube, as well as on www.streampunkentertainment.com. Please check out especially our flagship on Facebook 3, 4, 5 times a day, as the news is always changing. If you need your recaps, if you need your news, if you need your leagues, we have got you covered each and every way. We are your Costco of lacrosse, your one-stop shop for lacrosse. We have our fingers on the pulse of the situation, and we are up to date and accurate. And we take great pride in doing all of that. It brings us to last words. Shawn, last words to you.
I kind of think back again to when Derek, and I mentioned before, when Derek Keenan put out that letter to the fans after missing the playoffs, saying, just give me a chance, I can rebuild this. Where are we at now? Here we are. He's a man of his word. But yeah, like you said, nothing's still for certain. Even though they want that home field advantage. There's no doubt about it. They want home field advantage. You think back to last year, if they would have had home field advantage in that final over Buffalo instead, maybe things could have been different.
Right.
Who knows? It's what ifs, but and like I said, I really I'm looking at that matchup against Toronto because I think Toronto has the horses that they could give them a really good game because they are a young, athletic team, just like Saskatchewan.
I can go even one step further with you is it'll give them a good test of what they need in the playoffs and give them a good run for being, making sure that they're galloping. Mike, last words to you.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if some of these teams are just outside the playoff window, the Halifax, the Las Vegas, the Rochester, and even the Calgary, what they can do to kind of claw their way into the playoff picture.
Right. Definitely. And, seeing how these teams build and how they are, the chemistry for the future also would be interesting, I think, for a couple of these teams as well. Me, just for Thursday, it looks like Mark Matthews is going to be on the show. That's going to be an interesting one. Talking about his career is going to be wild. Between the Saskatchewan things, the Whitby things, the Brooklyn things, as well as his years in Toronto now. Should be interesting. The next few weeks also going to be interesting as well. There's going to be someone from the Firewolves on in a couple of weeks. Looking to get Ziggy Musial from Brampton on. Of course, he played with the Toronto Tomahawks and the Philadelphia Wings as well. So I'm hoping to arrange that with him as well. So we'll see down the road a little bit. But anyways, that'll do us for this week. For Shawn Slaght over Moose Jaw, for Muffler Mike in Connecticut, I'm Gary Groob in Toronto, wishing you the best of weeks. Stay safe. Stay warm. Man, another blast of winter this week for us here. I don't know about you guys, but I thought we could put the shovels away, but I guess we'll have spring in May. Anyways, Until we meet again next week, Sunday at 8 o'clock, keep your sticks high, keep your spirits higher. Have a great week and stay safe.